I asked the Rust community what buildable plan they wanted added to the game, and then I went ahead and tried to create it myself in Unreal Engine 5. I will be trying to add them all into my game CDZ, but first things first, we gotta actually attempt to make them. The top comment of my post was everybody wanting a half floor or a half ceiling, so let's go ahead and try. Since CDZ already has a working ceiling, I decided to take the static mesh of it, export it into Blender, slice it in half and readjust it, and then apply all transforms, and then export it back into Unreal Engine 5. With the half floor and half ceiling now in Unreal Engine 5, I had to split it into its three groups, temporary groups, metal, stone, and wood, and then apply a whole bunch of data tables to it. In the end, doing all this allows it to come up uh, in the radial wheel in order to build it. Anyways, so now that the boring part is over, let's go ahead and test out the item. You'll know it's a recent development if there are no textures at all available. Also, I forgot to rename um, the metal one. I had duplicated it over from wood. So there's two wood ones, even though one of them is actually metal. So it places in the perfect spot, so that's a good thing. You will notice if I place it on the left, it shoots out every other space. There's not a whole lot I can do about that, but it's also not too hard to manage during gameplay. Now I just want to make sure that a full ceiling doesn't have any weird interactions with the half ceiling, but this shouldn't be any issue since the half ceiling is actually a child code of the full ceiling. So it should pretty much behave exactly the same. And it does. It works as intended. Along the way, though, I did discover that I forgot to change the scaling of the middle half ceiling. So they're placed correctly, but they just don't look right. Well, needless to say, I spent a ridiculous amount of time testing as much as I could and seeing how it interacted with everything. Um, and then I pretty much moved on. One thing different in CDZ versus Rust is I plan on having um, even more upgrade options. So yeah, we have wood, we have stone, and then I plan on adding reinforced stone, so I have like rebar and stuff inside of it. And then we'll have metal, um, and then we can have armored, so it'd be the in between of metal and whatever the next one is. And then after metal, I haven't really decided what's stronger than armored, but I'm sure we can figure something out. Naturally, once we have a half wall and a half ceiling and a half floor, there's really only one other pretty much required build that we would need that Rust doesn't have, and that would be half foundations. Now, this has pretty much a ton of uses, especially for hiding things or just designs in general. But naturally, we gotta have that in. So that way, this whole half thing works perfectly. I don't have a crouch button yet for some reason. I need to implement that as well. But let's take a look. In order to get a half foundation, wow, that sounded awful. We have to do basically the same steps that we did for the half ceiling. We have to export it into Blender and then import it out of Blender back into Unreal and then change all the data points on it. So because the half foundation has so much more data and snap points and things that connect to it, so much more importance, it has a lot more chances of being buggy. And this is a case where you put a half foundation down first and then a full foundation for some reason connects to it in just a really weird spot. Currently, there's not a whole lot I can do about it. Um, So right now it's exploitable. And I also got to fix this wall. I just need to push over a snap point a little bit closer to the actual um, vertex. I don't know. The triangles were actually, the triangle foundations were probably the hardest thing to get perfect with a half foundation, because it interacts with it just in the weirdest ways possible. And I don't quite know how to fix this, um, but it's not all that usable. I think I fixed the problem of it snapping like this. I just have to change the connection point. Um, all in all, this should be somewhat easy to fix, but let's go ahead and uh, do some do some fixing and then come back and see what it looks like. Right off the bat, it seems like it's allergic to the triangles, um, which at first seems like it'd be a really annoying problem, uh, which it kind of is. I don't exactly know how to fix this directly right off the bat. Um, as you know, I'm pretty much doing this all by myself, so I also don't necessarily want to spend too much time trying to fix something uh, that you could actually work around. Um, so yeah, it kind of snaps a little far out, which I actually think would be a useful mechanic, to have a precise uh, connection outside of where you would normally have. But let's go ahead and see if I can do anything else to make this run a little bit better. All right, so it does seem to snap a lot better. Um, I guess one of the things that people are asking for were triangles that could connect in places like this, and they also wanted a perfect right triangle. Um, I'm not sure if they wanted a perfect right triangle foundation, but I know that they wanted uh, walls, ceilings, stuff like that. So you might as well do the whole thing. So one of the workarounds to having this piece really up close is simply not letting it snap. If you're running into a problem where it's snapping, just lower it or raise it, and you can pretty much ride right up into it. The only issue with this possibly is um, in the future, however, the TC interaction is. So really the real fix to it is to let it do the outside one and then connect the inner one and then break the outside one. It's a little micromanagey, but if the TC can't connect to the non-snap way, then that's probably the best way to do it. Last but not least, let's have a raised one and see if we can snap low things to it. And it seems to snap pretty well, so that's awesome. So yeah, so Rust could definitely implement this. I think really what they need to do is have it update on building and also fix exploits like bunkers and stuff like that. But yeah, so if the Rust admins don't want to listen to the community, I am more than happy to lean an ear and try to implement things that you guys want.